Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Katie Bay, and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the 5 classics that I recommend if you're a new reader. They're easy to get into. I think the messages are very meaningful, and I think it'll change your life a little bit. So let's get right into it. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to place yourself. What do you think you are as a reader? Do you think you're very new to reading, like harder literature? Are you kind of younger? Are you a little older? Like younger, I'm saying like 14 years old. You're just getting to high school level books. You're realizing that you're not interested in the books you're reading in school, but you still want to enjoy reading. Or are you like 25? You're just looking for a book that's a little older. Sometimes you need a book from a different time. Place yourself where you think you fall on the scale, and let's start. I think I'm going to start with my favorite book of the list first, just to start with a bang, and that's actually The Great Gatsby. I feel like everyone has read this book. This is actually still in the plastic. My cousin got me this copy. The Great Gatsby is literally one of those books that I will never forget and no one ever should. This one's a classic because it talks about 1920s era, like New York, America. It's prohibition. There's just a lot going on in the air. It's post-war. I think you'll notice I kind of like post-war writing. So this is actually written by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Incredible writer. I think he wrote this in the 1950s. I could be wrong. But his writing is very easy to understand and to follow along with, but it's beautiful at the same time. Hold on, I want to tear into this because I want to read you some of it, but that's why I like F. Scott Fitzgerald, and it's not too old. Honestly, less than 100 years is not bad, so it's not like the easiest book in the world, but that's not what you're reading a classic for. The story follows a man named Gatsby, Jay Gatsby, but it's not told from his perspective. The way he wrote this novel is actually incredible. He wrote it in second person. Now, do you remember 6th grade when you were learning first person and third person, and it kind of told you to forget about second person? This book is the second person book. Ooh, this comes off too. I didn't know that. Okay. So this is the first line of The Great Gatsby. In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you've had. I'm hooked. Are you hooked? Following this man, his name is Nick, and he lives right next door to The Great Gatsby, Jay Gatsby. He's like this incredible man. He has such a past. He's created such a life for himself, and it's really interesting to read about all of these characters. And here's another thing you may notice in classics. You're probably not going to like anybody in this book. You're going to be like, I like the book, but the main characters were terrible people, or something like that. That's okay. I don't even know if any of the main characters I'm going to discuss today are likable, but that's the point. You're supposed to see them as lessons, like learn from their mistakes and not be the same. I think it's important to not go into this thinking like, yeah, I love 1920s flappers, I'm gonna love every character. You're not. And instead I want you to like focus on what you're learning. So the message is great. It's really a character study. It's talking about a very important time in history. Fun. This book is fun to read. And I would say after you finish reading, watch the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. Incredible movie. I think they did a great job with it. Actually, now I want to rewatch it. But yeah, it's not the hardest language. Good movie. Honestly, this book is a 10 out of 10. I'm actually embarrassed to say I read this literally like a few months ago. I had never read this before. It's The Outsiders by S.T. Hinton. You could tell I love this. Oh, highlights. I love this copy of the book. Took this with me when I traveled. This book I'd recommend for a like younger reader. Everyone I've ever spoken to about this book, I had never heard of it, honestly. My boyfriend actually recommended it to me. I was like, what is that? He was like, you've never read it before? I was like, no, I've never heard of it. Apparently everybody reads this in the 7th grade, and I was the only kid who didn't. This is one of the books I do recommend for a younger reader. When I tell you I cried reading this book, I think about these characters a lot. I think about this writer a lot. I love how she writes. And this book was written by a woman, but I didn't even know until the end of the book when I was reading the interview with the author. This book talks about like social classes and how being from the wrong side of town can really affect your life. So that is the deeper meaning of the book. It also goes into friendship and family, and the way they handle those subjects. I'm like tearing up thinking about it. It's a good book. It's really well written, and it's easy to read. The language is very lax. Let's read the first sentence of this one. Chapter 1. When I stepped out into the bright sunlight from the darkness of the movie house, I only had 2 things on my mind. Paul Newman and a ride home. I was wishing I looked like Paul Newman. He looks tough and I don't. But I guess my own looks aren't so bad. Exactly what I'm saying. You may not know who Paul Newman is, because this book I think is from the 60s. I could be wrong. That's another thing with classics. It's hard to read about history when you just don't really know what's going on back then. Really just about following these characters and really just observing. So yeah, this book I recommend Easy to read. I'd recommend it for a younger reader, even older, because I'm like 21. I read it like really recently and I still I love this book. So I'd recommend The Outsiders to anybody and everybody. The next book I have on my list, The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. I love this book. I read this book for the first time when I was 15, or 16 actually, because it was COVID. And I was an angsty teen and I was living in New York. I have a receipt in it. You're following a whiny little kid's internal dialogue, and it's life-changing if you take it right. A lot of people read this and they're like, oh, he's just so whiny. Then it's not for you. I really believe when a book is meant for you, it will be meant for you. And so when I tried to reread this a few months ago and I did drop it, but that's because I'm not really in a whiny time in my life. It follows this boy named Holden, and he just got expelled from his preparatory school in Pennsylvania, and he takes a train back to New York. And it was winter break, and his parents weren't going to be notified for a few days that he was expelled, so he spent a couple days just wandering the city. That premise alone just sold me. The author handled it so well. The reason this book is a classic is because it's a coming of age. It touches on really horrible things, but in a very young way. It's someone who cares a lot and doesn't care at all. And I love the character in this, and I like seeing him go through his journey. And also, this is a post-war book. I really like post-war. This book, you'll fly through it. It's easy language. Chapter 1. If you really want to hear about it, the first thing you'll probably want to know is where I was born and what my lousy childhood was like and how my parents were occupied and all that before they had me and all that David Copperfield kind of crap. But I don't feel like going into it if you want to know the truth. It's like, okay, moody. So yeah, I'm reading that now. I'm a little older. I'm like, okay, so moody. But I was like, at 15, I was like, oh my God, that's the coolest way to start a book. The next book I have is actually Frankenstein. So this one I'd recommend if you're more on the older side, if you're more mature, like in your 20s or late teen or whatever, I'd recommend Frankenstein. This language is a little harder. This one is written in the 1800s, but it's not too hard. I genuinely think people can understand this. And it's by Mary Shelley. This book is genuinely incredible. Mary Shelley was 18 years old and she was at a cemetery hanging out with her friends, and they were like, oh, let's make a bet. Whoever can write the scariest horror story wins. Mary Shelley comes back with a book, and it's Frankenstein. Now, if you don't know what Frankenstein is about, it's about this man. His name is Victor Frankenstein, and he's really into science and all these things, and he's like, oh, I want to see if I could bring someone back from the dead. And then he does, and that's Frankenstein's monster. Here's the thing, in today's modern media, they're just like, oh, Frankenstein. No, Frankenstein came back as a misshapen person. He had a brain and he had thoughts and he had feelings, but he was 8 feet tall and looked insane. So everyone was scared of him. People were trying to kill him. And Victor Frankenstein was like, oh my God, what did I do? So on one half, you have Victor Frankenstein freaking out. And on the other half, you have Frankenstein's monster that's like, what do I do with myself? So this book is genuinely incredible. I'll tell you right now, I recommend this for everyone. This one is a classic because it really touches on how people view you. I've heard someone say this isn't a horror novel. It's not scary. It's heartbreaking. This kind of breaks your heart a little bit. And it really makes you assess a lot of things. I think it was written in 1812. I could be completely wrong. All right, so I'll read you the first sentence of the book. It's a letter, so it's letter 1 to Miss Seville in England, St. Petersburg, December 11th, 17 something, that's crossed out. You will rejoice to hear that no disaster has accompanied the commencement of an enterprise which you have regarded with such evil forebodings. Ooh, evil forebodings. If this one is a little challenging, then just don't pick it up just yet. Get better with reading. Come back to it when you can. That's why I'm recommending it for an older reader. Maybe you haven't taken an English class since high school and you're 26 and you just want a good classic to read. I'd recommend Frankenstein all the way. Hopefully you'll fly through the novel. I feel like it also depends on how you feel. I recommend Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. The language in that book is easy. A society where books are burned. The main character is a firefighter and his job is to burn books. And so obviously this book is about censorship, just kind of keeping people down. A guy who's like, is this right? Is this right? Is this right? So you're really looking at a world that's a little dystopian in that way. And I think that's a little cool. And I think it's an important book to read. It really makes you think about how much we do value having books. And I think if you ever hear about Banned Book Week, where we talk about books that have been banned, and you're just like, why should I care? Why should I care? Read Fahrenheit 451. They banned that book too, because it talks about banning books and it's really interesting. So I recommend that to a lot of different people. I've never met someone who didn't like the book because If it's a little boring to you, I could probably see that, I guess. Then I would just say put it down. If you're not enjoying a book, you could put it down. Alright, these are the 5 classics I recommend to read if you're new to reading. Let me know if you think I missed any down below in the comments, or if you've already read one of these or you're going to read one of these and they have any significant meaning to you. Let me know what you thought down below. I hope you liked the video. If you do, like, subscribe, ring the bell, and follow me on my TikTok. I'll be back again soon. Bye!